I mean, we committed to that. That
We're on page Reis Samach Zayin. Before we begin, so Baruch Hashem, when Rav Pinchas was here back at the beginning of the year, so our Chaver in the shul made a commitment to try to help to put out his Perushim on Likutei Moharan and Antanya. So the first installment of Likutei Moharan just came in a little while ago, and as Hashem, we could have the schus to have a chelik in this Torah of this remarkable Torah that's changing the world. People all over the world are learning the Svarim of Byam, darkecha. I think you know that, and we have an opportunity to take part in that. So anybody that wants to be mishtatev and can be mishtatev, we'll try to get the word out more, but to speak to David Lawrence about it, and we'll see what we could do to bring these svarim out to Mr. Shami. So there's the first installment of the Torah Samach Aleph from Likutei Moharan, and it's with his clarity and al darkecha avoda, it opens up Likutei Moharan for everybody to be able to learn. So it's a very, very important thing we could do. Okay, we'll talk more about it in the Misham of the coming weeks. Reis Samach Zayin, Hargoshas Haor, the mimer of Hargosha, being able to feel, of having a feeling of Elokus. And we're talking about the different shlavim, the different stages, for us to recognize, to believe in the possibility that a human being, that a boss of Adam can have a Hergish of Elokus, something that we were not raised thinking about or talking about or learning about, but to have that emunah. And then once there's an understanding of that possibility and learning more what that means, to understand what that is, then the hishtoikikus to want such a thing, to daven, to have hishtoikikus and so on. And then we're talking about the third shlav, which is now a renewed hisbonenus, deeper hisbonenus into what that means, Hargosha Elokus. So on page Reis Samach Zayin, on the left column where it says V'avoda Hamaisis Hi Hisbonenus. L'hisbonen harbe begadlus b'metzias Hashem Yisbarach. Now, of course, we need help with that. What does that mean? To contemplate, to think deeply upon the godless and the metzias of Hashem. What does that mean? So we have Baruch Hashem. We have the Svarim HaKadoshim to help us. L'hisbonen harbe begadlus b'metzias Hashem is what we were talking last time about Svarim like Nefesh Chaim and Tanya. Happens that the Svarim of the Eish Kodesh, of the Pisetzna, are filled with hadracha, practical hadracha, on hisbonenus and elokus, thinking about developing a hergish of elokus, and how to learn this Svarim HaKadoshim. How to learn a piece of Torah. When you're learning a Kedushas Levi, when you're learning a Dor Melimelech, when you're learning on the Svarim HaKadoshim, how to translate that limud into something which you can use in your life, to think about and to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through that limud. L'hisbonen harbe begadlus b'metzias Hashem Yisbarach gam lasas v'havanas hasugya shel yichud Hashem. So to learn, to understand the sugya of what does that mean? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's Yichudi Ilah, and Baruch Shem Kod Malchus Le'olam Va'ed, that's Yichud Tata. So, for instance, the whole Shar HaYichud Ve'emunah of the Baal Tanya, the whole Shar HaYichud Ve'emunah of the Baal Tanya is to explain those two sentences, Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem Kod. What it means, Yichud Hashem. What does that mean? Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. to learn that pnimis in depth, to learn Shayichet Ve'emunah. And that his great Talmud, Rabbi Arlis Rasheli, has a whole parish, his own Sharei Yichud Ve'emunah, on understanding on a deeper level. What does it mean? Yichudi lo yichudet atah. What do those words mean? Or makif, or pnimi. What does it mean? To think about Elokus. What does it mean, Yichud Hashem? Kizuhi anakuda ha'yikaris ba'or. Ha'asaga v'hargasha b'metzias Hashem isbarach v'yichudo. Otherwise, a person says, "You want me to think about Hashem, to be mizbar? What am I supposed to think about? I never met him. I don't know what that means to think about. Does it mean to think about certain psukim? To think about, to imagine something in Shemaim? What am I supposed to be thinking about? What's the hisbonenus? So this is a limud. This is a concentrated limud. What to think about. And I was thinking about this the last few weeks, that we'll learn another mimer or two, but I have a cheshik to go back to the limud in Chassidus and Chabad Chassidus, and to work on maybe even Shayichet Ve'emunah. I'm not sure but to return to the limudim of the Mamoria Chassidus, and to try to strengthen our ability to develop this chush and this hergish velikus through learning this Svarim HaKadoshim. Hasaga v'hargasha metzias Hashem yisbarach v'yichudo b'behirus v'hargasha gemura. Behirus in a clear way, v'hargasha gemura, a strong way. V'avodas ha'hisbonenus kolelas gam lilmodes ha'seichel shebedavar. And this hisbonenus includes learning the seichel shebedavar, understanding. The gam lahashiv osa la'alev. And how to take that understanding, that Havana, and l'hashiv oisa l'alev, and to bring it into our emotions, into our heart, l'shanan oisai, and to repeat, to learn l'hamik bon, to go deeper and deeper, ad she'inyan yeh borer v'chai, until the inyan is borer and chai. Obviously, it's clear and it's alive in a person's mind and heart. Obviously, a person has to go according to his madrega. Because there are many things, for instance, when I was mentioning about Rishon about Tanya's Talmud, so there's already a lot of Kabbalah in his, more Kabbalah in his Svarim, so a person has to go according to his madrega that he's able to handle. That's very, very important. And in addition to that, there are techniques of how a person should be mizbainain, to think about Akash Baruch Hu's presence in the Bria, in the world. He brings us out of Tav Samach Vav. Look at the note. To learn according to your Madrega. Lo likfetz miyad l'sugyas amukas, and not to jump right away into very hard, into very, very difficult sugyas. Keep emes avodas has bonus efshel kaim b'chol Madrega. They're all different Madregas of his bonus. Even when it comes to his bonus into the world, into looking at the world, there's a sefer called Movel L'Toras HaChasidus that was written by some mysterious Yid that was killed in the war, in the Holocaust, by the name of Eckstein. He wasn't a Rav or a Rebbe; he was a business person. And Movel L'Toras HaChasidus, which has been translated into English. I don't remember the name in English. And the whole sefer is it's a small sefer. It's an amazing sefer. Movel L'Toras HaChasidus. It's hard to get. It was reprinted, but still very few were reprinted, and even in the English, very few were made. But the whole sefer is just exercises in how to look like at a tree, and how to look at the sunrise, and by using the mahalchim of the Chassidus Svarim, of how to look at the Bria, how to think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creation. And there's a whole kuntres that came out a few years ago. Again, there's not in the stores. It's around a 60, 70-page kuntres on the mahalach of the Pisetzna of the Eish Kardish in in learning Sefer Hasidus, how to learn a Chazal Sefer, and to use that as a tool of guided meditation, of his bonus, of thinking about the Lukus. So there are many things that we have now that our parents or grandparents never had, ways of entering into the world of his bonus. Shlav Dalet, the fourth Shlav, Lahargish es ha'or b'makif. Achrei shehis parlel v'his boinem, after the davening, his boinem is Ya'ira, next page, Ya'ira es atzmo, should be Ma'ira to be Ma'ira himself, Lochush es metzias Hashem Yisbarach, to feel the metzias, the presence of Hashem, Lahargish es Ora, and his light, Lefochus b'hargasha klolos, to begin with, in more of a way that's called Hanikris or Makif, in more of a general way. It brings down in Tav Samach Zayin that with this it's very good. Tov Mod Lahosif Nigun Ma'ira. It's very good for most people. A nigun is very helpful. Because the nigun has a tremendous koch to open the heart to be able to feel. And to learn, each person has different svarim that are particularly helpful in that way of opening up oneself, and to ignite a fire in this avoda. Again, Sefer Azar Kodesh. There's nothing at all that's as powerful as the Zohar Kodesh when it comes to opening up one's heart to Hashem's Baruch. That is hands down is the Zohar Kodesh. Again, when people hear the word Zohar, they get terrified. I'm going to learn the Zohar. I'm going to get crazy. Something's going to happen to me. The time has come to learn the Zohar Kodesh. We have also Baruch Hashem many ways in our time to learn the Zohar Kodesh on a madrega, on a level that's for everybody, not those parts of the Zohar Kodesh that are more difficult. But to learn the Zohar Kodesh, it's also limud that we should get to in the near future. We have to try to work on to learn the Zohar Kodesh inside. There's no limud. Every single page of the Zohar Kodesh is like an explosion to open a person up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every page of the Zohar Kodesh. Even just saying the words, even if you don't understand what you're saying, there's a koch of learning the Zohar Kodesh that there's nothing that can compare to that limud. Every single page you together, Rabbi Shimon, he's laughing, he's crying, and he's talking, and he's what goes on in the Zohar Kodesh is wild. It's just the Zohar Kodesh. Every page of the Zohar Kodesh. Now we have new editions of the Zohar came out. Hamor opens up the whole Zohar Kodesh, and the Oiz V'Hadar is now putting out the Zohar Kodesh. We already have many volumes of Oiz V'Hadar that the Svarim to help that besides that the Sulam already for many years we have the Sulam and other Svarim to help. There's the Niglas of the Zohar Kodesh. There's those who have put out sections of the Zohar Kodesh that are just on the revealed parts of the Zohar Kodesh, not the Kabbalah parts. But every person, what it means to get ready for Shabbos, to learn. There's a 3-volume set on Zohar on Shabbos. The case started coming out around 7-8 years ago. 3 volumes. Goes through from the beginning of Erev Shabbos, all the Hachanis for Shabbos, all the different pieces in the Zohar Kodesh that have to do with Shabbos, and putting it together. And on the bottom it has and it's translated. Everything's translated into Lashon HaKodesh, into Hebrew, on the side, and then on the bottom, Rabbi Tzadok, Tanya, Rabbi Nachman, to fill in to Shabbos. It's a different Shabbos. And they started to put out, now they came out, I have now a booklet, it's not yet in the Sefer, but there's a booklet on Lag B'Omer, Sfira, Lag B'Omer, Shavuos, in the Zohar Kodesh. again, putting together all different pieces from the Zohar Kodesh for Lag Bomer and for Shuas, and all with the Hebrew on the side and with some help on the bottom, with the Svar Makadoshim. We never had this until now. That was Rabbi Shimon promised that he's going to take us out of the Zohar Kodesh. We're going to leave Golos with the Zohar Kodesh. We see this is what's happening. This is an explosion of learning the Zohar Kodesh, and that every person can do that. We could all do that. The time has come to do that. Again, in a healthy, normal way, in the right way. It's also good. There's so many things in Midrash. Hashem should give us all long years that we should be able to learn. Like Simcha and Chavas Adalas. And the note of some saying, "Come on, to Lumo Bisram Shapaiskim Bisram Shmalim Zal could go and say for Zohar Kodesh Sefer Chasidus V'Yira." Ki an neshama mitiva yesh la koach lahargish es Hashem Yisbarach. The neshama, the nature of the neshama is that to feel Hashem Yisbarach. There are things that are blocking it. There are things that are in the way. V'imhi mechusa v'lo margisha tzarach la'ira. And these svarim, and learning these svarim in the proper way, and with a lot of davening, shtoikakus and tefillah, the coverings, these blockages to the neshama are removed. And like Rav Kook said, we've spoken of many times, Rav Kook wrote that neshama tamid mispalalos, that neshama is constantly at work. Right now we're sitting here, each one of us is in a different place, in a different mood, and has gone through different things this past week, whatever it is. But the neshama, and inside each and every one of us, the neshama has not stopped working. The neshama is constantly working, but each one of us has different things that are in the way, that are covering. And because that we don't have a feeling, a chush and a hergish of what the neshama is trying to communicate to each and every one of us. The neshama is trying to speak to us. And there is a tshuva, Rav Kook speaks about the tshuva of the neshama. The neshama is constantly in a state of tshuva. The neshama is constantly speaking to us about returning to Hashem Yisbarach. And we're getting all kinds of transmissions, messages from the neshama, but we're not able to. Each one of us is in a different way is not picking up these messages that are coming from the neshama. And through this avoda that we've been talking about, a person is able to peel away, slowly to remove these blockages, and to be able to hear the natural voice of the neshama. It's there all the time. Back on top. No. Let's look first. Tav Samaches. The makif, of course, or a makif, or a pnimi, or a makif. Soiv Kalam Malcolm is a very big subject in Chassidus. But just in general, what this means, Yeshnei Sugei Hargoshes Klalim, and note Tav Samaches. The two general types of Hargoshes, V'hem Dekroim, or pnimi, and or makif. The or pnimi, it's translated as the inner light, the or pnimi, and or makif, the surrounding, or pnimi, or makif. Or pnimi, hu hargosha b'soich alev. It's just touching upon this. But or pnimi is the hargosha within the heart. Hu hargosha b'soich alev. Shalev mismale b'tchusha. Where the heart becomes filled with a tchusha, a feeling. Or makif, hu hargosha utchusha klolis. It's more of a hagasha klolus. It's a sense, not a clear inner feeling, but a surrounding awareness and sense. Sheidim urgeshes belev bebira. That's not felt clearly in the heart. Ella ha'odam margish oisa ki'ilu hi misvivo. A person feels this as if it's surrounding him. Utoim ma'at mimena. He's able to taste a little bit of it. Enough of a taste that he wants more. There's something there that he wants to to be able to draw to take it from an or makif and to translate it into an or pnimi. We spoke about this over the years. The Aktarov and other tzaddikim, they take this back to help us understand what's the Indian of Hashem holding the mountain over our heads. By Har Sinai, Hashem held the mountain over our heads. And the Oiv Yisrael and other tzaddikim explained that the avoda of the mountain over the head means that there's this or makif. Just like the or makif. Just by the chuppah, you have the chasna kala, there's the or makif of the chuppah, and there's the or pnimi of the chasna kala, and even the tabas, the ring is an or makif, and then the ring on the finger, that it becomes then an or pnimi. Everything is about taking a surrounding light and drawing it into a madrega of inner light. I know these are words that just sound, what does that mean? Something we have to learn more about to understand the meaning of or makif or pnimi. But the mountain surrounding the head of a Jew wasn't just at Har Sinai. It means it means there's a certain sense, a certain awareness of that which has not yet been made part of the person's inner awareness, but there's an awareness of something that's in a way of makif, that's surrounding, that's hovering over the person. It's there, but I don't get it, I don't quite have it. And how to take that from a level of, like Rabbi Nachman says, this is the meaning of Nasa and Nishma, that's called Nishma. I hear it. There's something that I can hear from a distance, and how to draw that into oneself and to make it into a Nasa, and then to go to a higher madrega of Nishma and Nasa and Nishma, higher madregas. That's the avoda of taking an or makif and bringing it into an or pnimi. Enough that a person wants more of this. He doesn't feel it. It's not something which he feels a chiyus in right now. It's a sense. It's an idea. It's a concept. It's a certain vague type of a hergish of something bigger, and the person wants to make this to do all this. It should become a pnimi. Avira. Nowadays in modern Hebrew they'll say this is an avira. Avira, there's a certain avira. You have just as a marshal ba'alma that you have a guy and a girl that they're dating. How does that become the next 80 years together? So during the time of dating, what hopefully can take place is not that there's an or pnimi. They don't really know each other. I'm not talking about people who are dating for 6, 7 years. They for sure don't know each other. I'm talking about the ones who are dating for a regular amount of time, whatever it is, 6, 7 weeks, right? Whatever, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the minig is in that family, that couple, but they're dating. So what's happening? There's no or pnimi. If they think there is, it's just demyanis, because it's a guy and it's a girl. That's a world of a minefield of demyanis and taivas and demyanis. It's very confusing. But in truth, there's just what can happen during that time of knowing each other a little bit is an avira. It's an or makif. It's a surrounding light. It's a certain sense, enough that gives a degree of confidence that this or makif can, over the course of our lifetime, can become an or pnimi. With a lot of hard work, with going through a lot of these stages in a relationship, also of his bainanus and his shtaikikus and tefillah, and being good to each other and caring for each other and helping each other, that these hargoshas, or this sense that we had while we were dating, he's nice, she's nice, that through this, somehow over the years, we can bring down more and more of that chuppah, which is a surrounding light, which is chofef, the chuppah, the sukkah. That's the whole meaning of the sukkah. The lulav in the sukkah, the upper meaning is nor pnimi. That's why Pida Rizal, where do you bench the lulav? It's not in the house. And you don't bench the lulav in the shul, you bench the lulav in the sukkah. Because that's the meaning of bringing through the nanum of the lulav, we draw down the or makif and we make it into an or pnimi. That's the whole meaning of the nanum, is to draw from the or makif and to bring it to an or pnimi. And in life it's the same thing. In a marriage, there are also all the nanum of caring for the person and helping and doing and running and talking, and those are all nanuim. Those are all nanuim. To take the chuppah of the chasna kal and to draw that or makif and to make it into an or pnimi. To an or pnimi. That's why Pida Rizal I've explained in the past, usually yontif time, that the way of the nanuim is not what people go like this. It's not the nanuim. And if you go the way you see in shuls, if you walk in shuls, everybody's knocking off all the arovis and adas. That's not the way of nanum. The way of the nanum is in a very, very sweet and gentle way to draw it to the way you say, the same way you say vidui. That's how you do it. There are those who hold that you give a little kiskus, which means a little bit of a tiny little bit of nothing. A little bit of to shake things up a little bit. But the nanum or the nanum to take it from to take things from a makif into vashevosa el levavecha. Even once up, mamish to the heart. All of that is this avoda. And the marshal of marriage is that all of life between a husband and wife, all the nanum of taking care of the family and they're all nanuim to strengthen that kesher. The whole inyan of that yichud between a husband and wife is to make the makif into a pnimi. And that's just a marshal, the marshal of Shir Shim, of the nimshal is Kutchabichu Shchintay, is the yichud between a Jew and a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Or Makif. But the Or Makif is an avira. It's a certain hergish, it's a chush, it's a sense, but it's not something that has become defined or clear, or strong. It's not necessarily yet in a state that it's changing this person's life. And the avoda of Makif and Pnimi, these two oirs, different levels, is what is the entrance, the shar, into a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu and into a relationship, chas and kala, good friends. It's all the same model. Back on top. In this shlav, there are two important possibilities. Sometimes, depending upon the person, which we'll talk about in a second, people are of different nature. There's some people who are much more, for them it's much easier to have a hargasha. They're much more inclined towards the heart, towards feeling things, towards the emotions, and there are others for whom it's very, very challenging to be able to have strong emotions. Everybody's different. So one is Osha Adam Maskal Hargish, Hargashim is Gaberes, Valeches, and the Hargasha becomes stronger. Margish Oisa Besocha, and he begins to feel it as something which is inside of him, as part of him, not just a hovering above him. Osha Margish Rak Hargasha is Makif, or the Hargasha stays on more, it's continuing on for a longer time, is more of a Makif. Margish is Ha'inyan Betchusha Kala Uklalis. And again, you could have that with the guy and the girl. They're not synchronized. That's very normal. It's very common, and there's a lot of agmas nefesh over that. This one feels, the other one doesn't feel. This one, it doesn't mean that they're not meant for each other. It just means that at this stage right now, this one has more of a makif, and this one's more of a pnimi. People are different. Doesn't mean they don't care for each other. Doesn't mean they don't love each other. It means that that ahava is in a different state. And this one it's easier to have an or pnimi in that relationship, and for the other one, it could remain as a makif for a longer time, and doesn't mean that this person doesn't have a kesher. It doesn't mean the person doesn't care for the other person, or that they're not able to be in a relationship. It just means that they're moving at a different pace. And the same way that it is with people, it's with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Everybody's different. Look at Tav Samach Tes. Bizman she'adam miskashe lahargish. Again, this is all coming together with learning his bonus and his bodadus and davening to Hashem. All of the avodah that we've been talking about, this doesn't happen on its own. A person could have all of a sudden some sort of an inspiration, okay, a certain niggin or a certain to hear a vart or a shir, but generally that's not what we're talking about. It doesn't stay with a person unless you work on it. If you hear a vart, that's something which, that's like one of those, a vart that really moves you, then there's an avodah to think about it, to write about it, to daven for it, to go over it with a niggin, to go over the vart and to sing a niggin, thinking about the vart. It's a whole program. It's not just, you can go your whole life hearing all kinds of vertlach. It's not a vart, but just vertlach are beautiful. You hear some Torah. Oh, it's geweldig. You hear some Torah. But that itself is not going to bring a person to any of this. It requires these shlavim that we're talking about. So bizman she'adam atav samach tes, bizman she'adam miskash lahargish libo lo niftach, yesh lo lasok rak ba'or makif v'lismach bo. With all of this avodah, there's no Indian here of impatience or trying to push things and getting annoyed with oneself that it's not working. How come it's not working? I'm following the instructions. It's not like making a deck in the backyard or a barbecue or something. You put it together, now it's supposed to light up and work. Everything works. It's an avodah. It's a serious avodah, and therefore a person should be besimcha even with an ormak. If a person's besimcha, be besimcha with that. And if a person is working at this and he's zeicha to have more of a psichas alev, the heart is opening more. And he's things are beginning to seep more inside in a deeper way. Then it's time to move forward and to keep on going and not to be satisfied just living your whole life, with the chuppah over your head. It's time for the chas and kal to go home and to live together as husband and wife. It's not enough just to have a chuppah. So to bring it in, Eli yashkia lahargish b'chol pnimius libo, to invest and to try to strengthen the or pnimi. Ad shahargasha turgash b'vsaro, until you mamish can feel this. V'yetzahar menaseh lefatos es ha'adam lahafeiches haseder. Now here there's a very strong yetzahar that tells the person to reverse things. And how does this translate into one's head? This yetzahar comes into such a way, you're not feeling anything, this is ridiculous. You don't have a strong feeling for any of this. And unless you have a strong feeling, this is all worthless. And obviously the result of that is that the person just drops the whole thing. He feels that he's not much liach. Then you have the other way. So first you have a person that for whom he must have this immediately, and if he doesn't, and if it's not strong, then it's worthless. Then you have the other person. If you look, you have another person who has a koach lahargish, who has more of an atiyah to have a feeling. And the thing with him is that he is then his yetzar is okay. It's enough. You have a little bit. You don't have to develop this or increase this. Just to remain satisfied with that little bit of a hargasha, as opposed to strengthening the hargasha. It's enough to have a little bit of a makif. It's enough to have a hargasha klalis. You have a little bit of hargasha. Davening does a little bit for you. This does a little bit for you. A niggin, some Torah, and you don't need to work on it. You already have this. It's okay to stop. You're in a basic level of hargasha, and the Yetzirah says that there's no need to explore any further. There's no need to develop this any further. And the same thing, you have that in a relationship also with a husband and wife, and chasna and kali. The same thing with a husband and wife. The dialogue, this for one, there must be. Okay, there's a fondness, there's a caring. This doesn't need to be developed or nurtured in any way. It must be. There's darkecha, there's tiva umatzava. Therefore, a person has to know in a very, very clear way the darkecha, the way of this avoda, that we've been talking about the different shlovim and how to develop this avoda, and also to be honest of one's own tava, to be aware of one's own nature and personality. And to do this avoda in a way that is custom designed for you and who you are and your tava, your nature. Back on top. There are people who by nature feel things more. There's more of a chamimus, there's a warmer tava that's more open to emotions. There are people who are more emotional but tava. And for these people, to have a hargosha gemura, for their hearts to open, that doesn't require that much. They live the teva more at that opening of the heart, and for them it's not difficult to have hargasha. V'yesh anashim, and there are other people. Shemitivam pachas oiskim hargasha. Page Reish Samach Tes. There are other people who their teva is to be less emotional. That pachas oiskim hargasha, less of a hargasha. V'holchim yoser b'darkei seichel. Their mahalach is more the seichel, less emotional, more of the intellect. Everybody has a different teva. V'holchim yoser b'darkei seichel. V'avoda masas, their avoda is more in seichel and more practical, more intellectual. Which doesn't mean that they're smarter than the other person. It just means that they have more of an atiyah to sechlius, and the other person has more of an atiyah to hagation. It doesn't have anything to do with how smart a person is. It's just a different atiyahs and efforts. Everybody's different. There's those that come more from the right, that comes more from the left. Chesed, Vur, Netzach, and Hod, they're different. Everybody's different. And everybody has different atiyah, it's hagation, it's seichel. You have a person that he'll see a sentence in one of the Sfar Makdoshim, and it'll send them flying. You know, the person say what does it have to do with anything? I understand it, but so it doesn't mean there's anything better or worse about these two people. It's a different teva. But a person has to know what his teva is and to work with his teva. Last week when I was all in when I was sitting shiva, so there was a fellow that came, I don't know, who learns in a chabur with my brother-in-law, and it was quiet. It was a quieter time of the early. It was right early in the morning. He came, and he was talking a little bit about what he's learning and so on, and he said this sentence. he said that there's this Chabad guy where I live, and he's trying to learn with me some Hasidus, which I find to be very silly. That's what he said. So my niece was very offended for me. Like, she didn't react, and we didn't. But then she said like a little like in between when he left. So she said, the guy comes, he sees it. You look like a Hasidic guy. He doesn't know me at all, but like, why do you say that to somebody? Which of course I'm not offended at all. What he said was very silly. It's very silly. So I didn't have a discussion with him. It's not the time. I just said that you might see that if you work at it a little bit more and you think about it a little bit, be open to a little bit more, you might find that there's some things that are not silly at all over there. But my brother told me he's got his other issues. This guy, but to say such a lashon, it's just
Shiva has a way.
Not about me. It's just disrespectful to tzaddikim to talk like that. What?
I would say Shiva has a way of bringing out some of the most.
Strange things that come out. Strange things that come out. So, what does that mean? So the guy, his whole life, his Indian is he considers himself to be like this intellectual, and he's exposed to something that's challenging him in a different way. Even though the fellow's learning with him, Tanya, the Baal Time is an exceptionally bright person, as you all know, and Chabad Hasidus was written by a towering intellect for people who darkecha have a natural inclination towards beginning with Chabad, with Chachma Bina and Das. But there's such a person is so not comfortable with that world, that where it's not just a matter of some sort of an interesting machlokes in the Gemara or between the Rishonim, something that doesn't potentially reach your emotions, that's not in the world of emotions, that's not even speaking to the emotions at all. So to him, that seems to be something which is just silly. What are these words? What do you mean, or makif and or panini? What are you talking about? What do you mean there's a light? What does a light mean? What kind of light? A light is a bulb. I don't know what a light is. There's no light. So this person, of course, can also be affected and helped. So I didn't say anything to him. I just smiled and I said, "Well, everybody has their own way." And so my brother told me that the Maggid Shir that they learn with is a very big Talmud Chacham. The Maggid Shir once said to him, or maybe he said it himself. He said that I was told that I don't have a soul, or I don't know, my brother said, or he said that I don't have a soul. So that's not true. Of course he has an neshama. Every Jew has a soul, and that's the worst thing to just come to some conclusions that I only have a brain. I don't have a soul. What does that mean? I don't have a soul. The seat of the neshama is the brain, not the heart. So I don't have a soul. No, he said it. Yeah, he said that Rabbi so and so, the Talmud Chacham, that's the Maggid Shir, once said that I don't have a soul, because he was commenting on his own comment after he said that there's all silly stuff. Of course, you have a soul. Like I told you, I heard from Reb Shlomo Freifeld, how Reb Tzadok first came to Ishbitz. I've said it many times over the years in this. When Reb Tzadok first came to Ishbitz, he was crying that I don't have a heart. It's a whole story that's behind it, but he said to Ishbitz because Reb Tzadok was the mind of Reb Tzadok. So he said, I don't have a heart, and Ishbitz said, the way it's written in Hebrew, the way Reb Shlomo said it was in Yiddish, but the term was, in Hebrew would be Yesh lecha leva, you have a heart, but you have to enhearten your heart. Every Jew has a heart. Every Jew has a soul, but you have to enhearten the heart. You have to open the heart, and there are ways to do that. But for everybody, it's different. For some people, it's the easiest thing in the world. The second the niggin begins, he's already whatever. For another person, it takes much more work. But obviously, you're not going to engage in that if you think all of this is meaningless or unimportant or silly. This is as we learn, the first shlav of this avodah is learning and understanding that this is the tachlis of our lives, to have a connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, that it's not silly. Because if your thought is that this is silly, then it's never going to be any of this. But that's why the first shlav is learning to understand the significance, the importance, that the whole tachlis of our lives is this connection. So then to develop it, but everybody moves at his own pace. So there are those who go more at the beginning of Vaysamach Tes darkecha seichel by what it means. They're more intellectual, more bent to the intellect, and more to the practical. So this person who wants to have more of a connection, he could go for much longer time, even though he's working at it. It takes much longer. It's more of a hagosha, which is a makif, not something that fills him or excites him, necessarily inspires him in any kind of a significant way. Even if the person's only zocher to hagoshes or makif, but he should be besimcha with that. That's his nature. He has to know that's his teva, and these things take a lot of time. And tzarich l'smachbo. So to be machshav that's choshev. For him, that's very, very choshev. To be machshav that. It's the same thing again for the husband and wife. For the person to be machshav that hargasha, even though it's a makif, and for the spouse to be machshav that than the other one, because for that person it's harder and it takes longer. Over time, when you work on it more and more, then hargasha begins to seep more from a makif, becomes slowly drips into a way of more of a pnimi. But it doesn't come as a torrential flood. It drips in, but it becomes over time more tikonis me'atzma, la'at. Slowly, it's a bislach for this person. It's la'at. La'gosha milei b'leiv. Ubesov till it fills the heart. Ubesov yizkel hargish b'chol libo. Every Jew, any person. Ubesov yizkel hargish b'chol libo. To feel the heart being filled. I would say shelo yalchitz es atzma lahargish hagosha pnimis ki mitzvah Hashem zeyovo me'atzmo b'ribo hezman. And this person should not force this and push this and become upset. How come it's not happening? But to work on these exercises, these shlovim, and with davening, and over time, slowly, to begin to develop this haggash and to bring it more and more into the heart. So, Be'ez Hashem, next week we'll start with Taf Ayin Aleph. The note, if you can make a note, I don't have a pen on me to give it. Just make a note. We should start with that note. You'll tell me, Harry. So we begin with Taf Ayin Aleph, and then we'll continue with some examples.